Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are working on an arithmetic question, specifically a properties of a number question. So the question says, for which of the following values of n is 100 plus n over n not an integer? So just to give you a quick recap, an integer is a whole number that can be negative, positive, or 0. So it could be -5, it can be 1, it can be +5, etc. It cannot be something like 8.99, or it can't be, let's say, 10 1/3, for example. So let's go ahead and jump on in. There are two different ways to do this problem that I can think of. I'm going to walk you through the easier, more intuitive way, in my opinion, first, and then we will jump on over to the harder way. So in my opinion, the easiest way to do this is to just plug in our answer choices and figure out which one is not an integer. So looking at the first answer choice, we have the number 1. So if we were to plug that in for n, we would end up getting 101 over 1, which is just equal to 101, which is an integer. So let's go ahead and take a look at answer choice, or the second answer choice. So that would give us 102 over 2. It's a good time to review your divisibility rules if you're a little bit rusty. I will go over them as well. But if you remember, a number is divisible by 2 if it's even. So that means that this place here would have to be a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. So in this case, since this last number here is even, this will give us an integer, which is actually 51, but that doesn't really matter. So now let's go ahead and look at answer choice C. So if we were to plug in 3 for n, we would get 103 over 3. So I don't know if you remember your divisibility rules for 3, but in order for a number to be divisible by 3, the sum of its digits has to be divisible by 3. So what that means is if I were to add up these 3 digits here, that number would have to be divisible by 3. So 1 plus 0 is 1, and 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 is not divisible by 3, therefore we know 103 is not divisible by 3. So this here is not an integer. Okay, but let's go ahead and check out our last two answer choices just to make sure we didn't make a mistake. So answer choice D would be 104 over 4. And in order for a number to be divisible by 4, we have to check the last two digits. So here the last two digits are 04 or just 4, and that is divisible by 4. So therefore we know that this is an integer, and that would give us 86, I believe. Nope, that's not right. That would give us 26. Let me fix that. There we go, 26. Okay, so lastly, we have a 5, so that would give us 105 over 5. And for a number to be divisible by 5, the ones place, this number here, has to be either a 0 or a 5, which in this case it is. So this is an integer, and that would actually give us 21. So therefore, we have shown that A, B, D, and E are all integers. However, C is not an integer. And I can go ahead and show you why. So 103 divided by 3, that would give us a 3. That would give us a 4, 12. Subtract, we get 1. So it would be 34 1/3. And if you remember from my examples, that is not an integer. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you the harder way. In my opinion, it's just a little bit harder. So 1 second, let me clear my screen. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the harder way. So another way to do this is to kind of rewrite our expression and figure out when it's going to be an integer. So what I mean by that is if we have 100 plus n over n, we can rewrite this as 100 over n plus n over n, which is also equal to 100 over n plus 1, because n over n is just 1. So now we can see that this 1 doesn't really matter, because if this is an integer, if we add 1 to it, it's always going to be an integer. So for example, let's say this was 0. If this term is 0 and we add 1, that's an integer. If it's 100 and we add 1, it's an integer. If it's 10 and we add 1, it's an integer. So all we really have to do is look at this term here. So we're really just focusing on 100 over n. Now if we were to go over and look at our answer choices, we can easily figure out when this is going to be an integer and when it's not. So if it's divisible by, or I'm sorry, if you divide it by 1, that's going to be an integer because it's 100, and an integer divided by 1 is just itself. If we try to divide it by 2, we know it's going to be an integer because it's even. If we divide it by 3, we see that it's not going to be an integer because if you add up these digits, 1 plus 0 is just 1, and that's not divisible by 3. If we were to keep checking, we would look at 4. That is divisible by 4. And it's also divisible by 5 because of this last number in the ones place here being a 0. So that's the other way to do it. It is easier in a sense because it takes less time to go through your answer choices, but sometimes it's harder to be able to think that way. However, if you can, that's great, and that will save you a little bit of time. So if you can think of it that way, go for it and you'll be set. All right, well, I think that sums up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And as always, if you have any content requests or feedback, I would love to hear from you. So please leave me a comment in the comment section below. I do read those as frequently as I can, and I will definitely try to get back to you. And lastly, if you haven't done so yet, don't forget to take advantage of your free download by clicking the image to the left. All right, thanks again. See you guys next time.